contain malware. I guarantee you they came in at times when people are likely not going to be their sharpest, first thing in the morning, right after lunch, or right midday on Friday. Spammers, phishers, nation state hackers or whatever, they know that. They do their research on that. And so what I would do personally is if I see this is going on and I'm seeing a high click-through rate on emails, I would want to partner up with our training people and go, look, for our security awareness program, we need to teach people to be more vigilant during these hours. Obviously you want to be, alert all the time, but if you're redlining yourself 24/7, you're going to burn out and people are going to stop taking it seriously. So, put that together and present it to them, explain to them why it's important. Don't just tell them it's important, you explain why, what can happen, and what you're seeing, so they have a clear understanding of the situation as well, too.
Absolutely. And let's shift gears for a moment and actually talk about some ransomware. So, here you see this. If you see this, chances are either you're on the BBC's website looking at the blog post that I found this on, or you've been infected with Petra ransomware. With that being said, Ben, let's go through this a little bit.
All right.
So, out of curiosity, right here to the right we have the contents of a Yara file. Yara being yet another regular expression analyzer. Based on the data here, by a show of hands, who thinks this is actual threat intelligence? Anyone? Oh, sorry, it's a little blurry. Let me read it to you a little bit. So right here we see description, WinRAR SFX module. It's in full word ASCII form. Then we have some lines about manual auth. The ID below indicates application support for Windows 10. A few other things like that. Then condition, we have uint16, file size, and some conditions. At the bottom, those are strings from binaries. So, given that information, is this threat intelligence? Bazinga. That's where you work. So.
Well, you have Windows environment. So I would say yes, it is Intel.
Right. Exactly. So, to caveat what Stephen said, it is Intel, but it depends on your environment. It depends on what you're going to do with it. If you just have this, great, that's a nice piece of intelligence. But unless you're actively scanning for it in your environment, it's really useless. You want to talk a little bit more about it?
Right. I'm of opinion, that it could be beneficial, like you said, depending on where you deploy it or where you act upon it. You still, we see all the time, like, oh, here's some Yara roles for this dump and things like that. Okay, well, if your environment isn't exposed to this particular exploit, so what? It's not action. It's intelligence, but it's not something that you may or may not be able to act upon within your organization. And that's how what we kind of talked about earlier is you start seeing a lot of noise coming through on these threat intelligence feeds and things like that.
So what you mean to say is it lacks context.
Yeah, that would be a better way of putting it. So, thank you.
So, hey, slightly rehearsed. Slightly. With that being said, that goes to the age-old example, like when you go through SANS training for like Security 504 for the incident handling class, the example they give you is, hey, you've got this Linux server and here's these attempts at exploiting IIS. Is this an incident? No. Why? Because IIS is Windows and you're on a Linux box, so no. It's all about the context. So moving on, this is Jigsaw. Thanks, Stephen, for the pictures from your company. I'm yet to see them. I hear they're pretty good. But anyway, out of this, given the data on the screen, is this threat intelligence? Absolutely. So again, this is intelligence, but until you apply it within your organization, within your enterprise, to get the context associated with it, again, you'll see application data and a registry key. What lacks? The directory application data and registries. Yeah. So if you're seeing stuff with this, an exe file, that's another thing come on. All sorts of fun stuff. And with this one, you can kind of see that it's trying to pose as Firefox and Dropbox with FRFX and DRPBox. But with this, what could you do with it? Very simply, you can check the existence of the registry keys via something like Yara, like Stix. Your SIM may have that capability as well. You could write your own regular expressions and not even use Yara. If you use ALAM Vault, you could use OTX, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You can watch for connections to the C2 server, the btc.blocker.io. You can monitor for files called bitcoinblackmailer.exe with the Firefox logo on them, by the way. And at that point, when you have that and you're actively monitoring your environment, you're doing the checks, then do you have threat intelligence? Better, right? Anything to add, Ben?
For this, no.
So here's just an example of the Yara rules GitHub. If you're actually going to use Yara rules, this is a really good place to go to get some. That's where the Petya one came from. They've got all sorts of malware and other exploits there. So if you want to scan with it and actually get the data and interpret the results and act upon the results, then this is a good place to go. So, kick us off here.
Incorporating with incident response. Well, like I said earlier, observing these trends and things like that that impact your environment, the first thing to do would be to incorporate that into user training. We got a lot of people in this industry say that security awareness training and things like that don't work. I disagree. It's just how you deploy training. There's, like I said, if you're observing all these types of trends and things like that, you got spam coming in, spam campaigns launch first thing in the morning, right when people are going on work, they're sleepy, haven't had coffee yet. All right, let's take them like, hey, before you check email, get yourself woken up and you sit down and talk into their desk and start firing away emails. The proactive information sharing. You might see something come across your environment that could likely impact maybe a competitor or something to that effect. Somebody that's doesn't directly affect you, but be professional courtesy and give them a heads up. Just things like that. That goes into like intelligence sharing, possible threat hunting. I think most organizations aren't really ready to do, dedicated threat hunting, but there are, other things out there. I've seen exploit attempts against my network and looked at it, and it didn't work on us, and then I'm looking at it another instance and goes, well, I wonder if we did this here, would this have any effect on us? And it's like, oh crap, well, let's go ahead and get that signed up real quick. While planning prevention, plan for infection and response. Some people will say that assuming breach is the fetus. I disagree. I think that if you assume that you have an infection or a threat actor or any type of malicious intent going on within your environment, you should be actively looking for that. And you might be surprised what you come across. You might find something that you weren't looking for. One of the examples that I always think of is there's an episode of The Wire where the mayor told some of the Baltimore County workers, Baltimore City workers, hey, there's a broken down car on the street, you should go ahead and tow that. And they go, all right, well, what's the address? He's like, I don't know. He just leaves. So he has everybody going around trying to find the like, all right, dude, we got like 30 broken down cars off the streets. And he's like, cool, but that's not the one I was looking for. Keep at it. And little by little, the analogy here is you keep looking for problems as soon as you have them. You'll be surprised and you can fix problems and good things that you have.
That's the very core of threat hunting right there. So we came up with this elaborate definition of threat hunting, which was basically when you have someone in a defensive role using somewhat offensive tactics to try to find more advanced problems within your network, threats, the boogeyman, nation state, advanced persistent threats. I read some marketing sheets a few days ago. I apologize. With that, and the caveat I would want to add to, actually, what I would want to expand upon with the planning for infection, it goes to the age-old adage: it's not if, it's when. You can have a bulletproof security system. You could have like $5 million or more in security solutions, firewalls, IDS, next-gen everything, advanced persistent everything, hopefully the podcast as well. But with that being said, a simple social engineering attack could plant malware on a system that's able to pivot to your domain controller. So resiliency is key. So to plan exclusively for prevention is naive in the respect that human error will never occur, and it's human error. We're all going to make mistakes. It's just the nature of the beast. Another thing that I think that we need to invest a lot of time and resources into thinking about, not necessarily acting upon. Of course, harden your cloud services, your cloud instances, but you should definitely integrate that into your threat landscape and your incident response plan. So what happens when you have an AWS instance that all of a sudden starts firing outbound UDP port 80 packets? What do you do? Who do you call? What are your actions? What does that indicate? Could it have been prevented if you had proper threat intelligence? And the answer, honestly, to that is maybe.
Right. Yeah.
It's with this. There's just as much art as there is science as there is philosophy. And then anytime incident response comes up, we've got to talk about business continuity, disaster recovery, contingency planning, and the continuity of operations, simply upon the premise of a lot of things are the same. So here's another theoretical for you. You're watching the news. You see there's a tornado coming. Is that threat intelligence?
Coming where?
Towards you.
Okay.
With your mother-in-law on a bicycle. With her flying monkeys. So
It's enough to know what you kind of, it's not enough to know when it's going to happen.
exactly. It's fuzzy.
Yeah.
So to kind of refine that a little bit. The sirens go off. You see on TV there's an EF5 tornado 1.5 miles from your data center. Is that actionable threat intelligence? Towards. And it's your mother-in-law and her sister.
On the bike in the data center.
With the flying monkeys. And scream with malware on flash drive screaming, "I'll get you, my pretty." So exactly. If you have a warm site or a hot site, call them up and be like, "Hey, there's an EF5 headed towards our data center. You might want to head to the site." You know, especially if it's a warm site. If it's a hot site, they're already there. But if it's a warm
I
site,
would first call the employees in that data center and get them talking about yeah, people first, buddy.
Actually, you know what? Let's adjust this for 2017. Let's be realistic for a second. All right? I'm going to be real with you all. It's very rare that I'm this candid. What you're supposed to do is go outside and take a picture of it and put it on Twitter and Instagram with like 7 hashtags. Hashtag Stormflow. That's what I would do. And then send an email to the fire department urgently, telling them that you're going to need their assistance later. So, extra credit if you know the reference there. But either way, you've got to actually incorporate this with your training and your culture. So when you're talking about this, it's going to amplify your proactive stance. And this is very much towards the incident response perspective. Get your employees engaged. To skip to that bottom point, you need the management commitment. If your employees know that management is not committed to your information security program, your training program, your incident response program, why should they be? That's the exact opinion most of them are going to take. You're going to have some that are going to without deviation, continue forth. But if you have management commitment, it's going to be a better program all around.
But also to that effect too, that engagement works both ways. So maybe you're in an environment where you feel management may be lackluster in regards to engagement. You can challenge them yourself with that. Don't go, hey man, look, we're about to get real serious with this, but you can go, hey, where are we at with BCPDR? I see this. Present your ideas up to them. And sooner or later, if you keep addressing the issues, they're going to at least do something. And if not, well then, at that point, it's outside of your realm, and they fall in that sort of gracefully.
It's time to pull out the Dawn dish soap and wash your hands of that.
Right.
So don't waste your time with Palmolive. Just kidding. But with that, other things to consider. Phishing is real. Phishing enables a lot of other types of attacks. It helps malware get onto systems. It helps people give up sensitive data. Credential harvesting is a very fun activity. But in the program, I'm a huge fan of a non-punitive open door policy. If a user within my organization clicks a phish, I want them to know I'm not going to beat them over the head with the book. I'm not going to browbeat them. They're not going to get punished unless it's a recurring thing out of malice. If they simply make a human mistake, click the phish, that's fine. Follow the steps we gave you in terms of what to do. Do we want you to log off? Do we want you to turn it off? Unplug the network cable? Do nothing? Do we want you to call us, email us, walk over? What? And at that point, by having that non-punitive policy, your employees are more apt to actually report it to you. And from the incident response perspective, patient zero is known, to use that analogy.
Yeah, and just to placate on that, I haven't seen an organization yet. I'm sure there's probably some out there that doesn't have some sort of spam reporting system, for their IT department and things like that. And if I wanted to be proactive and start getting involved, make sure my employees are aware of things like that, I would start wanting to know how many emails are getting forwarded to that inbox, because if you're not seeing that much versus what is actually spam or phishing attacks and things like that, then you know that they're not very engaged, and again, you go back to increasing engagement as well. And also with that proactive stance, don't sit there and wait for something to happen and say, all right, well, we have a business continuity plan for DDoS and things like that. A few months ago when botnets were all the rage and they were DDoS and everything under the sun. All right, well, don't sit there and go, yeah, well, we've got this. Let's start looking at a backup solution for when this doesn't work, just to be safe. And start, maybe it's not that time of the year to do your tabletop exercise or anything like that, but maybe you want to go ahead and bump it up a little bit early so that it's fresher in people's minds. And it's a good, like I said, being proactive in your incident response plan.
Absolutely. And the final point I have on this slide in terms of training people, one thing I'm actually working with in terms of trying to increase awareness and have successful awareness programs, I found that training people to protect their children online is an excellent way to hit home, because that parental instinct kicks in. It's like, you don't mess with my kids. I don't have kids, but if I did, if you messed with them, then you might meet Negan, and I might bring Lucille. That's just how I am. My niece, I do the same thing. So if someone, if you train people at work how to protect their children online, they're going to take that home. They're going to find applicability for it. They're going to think about it. It's going to resonate with them, and then they're going to bring it back to work. And when they bring it back to work, that's going to create the secure environment for you. Do you have anything else to add before we shift to the demo portion? All right. So now we're going to shift over into a demo type thing here. And we're going to start off with a pretty little email. Oh, look. Anybody flying anytime soon? No? Yeah. I can't find my cursor. There. Yeah. I heard I heard that United's CEO beat up Delta's CEO. Well, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet earlier, but UFC, they're having an event here in Nashville tonight. They actually tweeted that the main event now has the United CEO. It's going to be a tag team main event. Even though you've never heard of tag team cage fighting, they're actually bringing security guards from, I believe, Chicago O'Hare. Wasn't that it when you saw the tweet as well? Yeah, you did. Come on. But, maybe I was.
It was deleted.
That's exactly it. And if this was an OSINT talk, we could have actually talked about how to find it. Darn. Come to BSides Knoxville in 2 weeks and you can actually learn about OSINT. Shameless plug. So here we have an email that came into one of the email addresses that I have. And it's on my website, so someone scraped it. We got a little bit of data here. But my order with Delta has been confirmed. So it's good to know that I actually purchased my airline tickets for my flight to Baltimore next week through American. So, maybe they did merge. Who knows? Yeah, that's exactly it. So with this, you can see that it's from orders at Delta with 2 A's. With that being said, you can see that there's a little bit of wonkiness right here with their URL. Oh, that says it's delta.com/orders viewticketonline.do. That seems legit. Let's see.
Link is only valid for the next 5 minutes after your flight is canceled.
Well, I guess my flight's going to get canceled. So here we have some nifty little stuff. And let's go right here to virus total. And we can go here and let's see what's shaking up with this URL. So we've got it all here. So what? iPalm's Cocoa Beach? I thought it was delta.com. I thought I was going to Baltimore. Did they move BSides Charm? They did. So, 4 of 64. Yeah. Let's see what's going on here with the last analysis. Come on, what's up with this, man? Trend Micro's not detected it yet. Come on, man.
There's a lot of companies not detected.
Okay. Yeah. But, right here you can take it, and this is just a means, this is kind of somewhere between incident response and threat intelligence in terms of, is this relevant to my organization? Obviously, if you've received the email, it's somewhat relevant. Probably is. So, with this, of course, it's one means. Also, within virus total, if you actually have a file, you could upload that as well. So, I don't have any particular files to upload, but if you did, you could upload it. It'll analyze it, and it'll tell you, hey, this is or it isn't. And that's not a definitive answer. It's, is this known or is this unknown? It could still be malware and show as no, or it could be legit and show as yes.
The URL thing all depends on if the engine actually has the reputation system built in it.
Tis true. Tis true.
Someone registered delta.com.
Come on, man. There we go.
Oh, perfect privacy.
Oh, yeah. There we go. They have 3.5 million domains.
You don't actually have an account if you need to do it.
Where? Oh, okay. It's hard to see on this screen. I apologize. Domo arigato. They're throwing us under the bus.
These are the toughest things too. I mean, like, what is a bus really?
First try. Yeah.
But there's been 89 different references. So while I walk, so my screwed up with my straight.
Yeah. Probably the real Delta. No?
Before they put price on.
Ah. Yeah. So here's another place when talking threat intelligence. This is a tool. Do you want to kind of hit the high level on this? No? Okay. This is OTX. This is an Alien Vault product, Open Threat Exchange. It is an example of threat intelligence. Again, it's a feed, but the thing about it is, if you just read it, you might be smarter for reading it, but it's still not threat intelligence. You have to apply it. And without getting into the whole Alien Vault ecosystem, there's the whole thing that goes in with their SIM system that works with this. But either way, here's a Delta ticket thing. And I found it ironic that it's here. It's not the same one. But here's some pieces of data that actually feed into it to help you out. So here we see, there's the reference that talks about it. It's got a VBA macro, .doc. Surprise, surprise. Think back to that slide. It's one of the number one vectors. From here, within the summary, we see we have one URL, 15 IP addresses, 4 domains, an email address, and a host name. So, given that information, let's send it to the jury again. Is this threat intelligence? Okay, good, good. You know, if this were a course, y'all, they'd be passing. We're good. So, finals week next week. So, but with it, we see that there's a different URL associated with it. So, and this actually came up from me searching Delta with 2 A's. That's where it came from. So, with this, what could you do to actually use this as threat intelligence? You could set up monitoring rules, perhaps, looking for incoming emails from deltawith2as.com. You could block it. You could watch for traffic to or from these IP addresses. Same thing with the URLs, the host name. You can watch out for all of this stuff. Or with this, right now it's not showing one way or another. If it's in here, I will say.
It's just showing it as interesting.
I mean, either way, the way I would interpret that is, first of all, you have deltaa.com, and when you click it, it does a redirect to a different domain. I don't care what they're doing. That's malicious intent. If I'm not interested, I would already look at deploying countermeasures, deploying the
right. And in some organizations, if you have the team and the talent to do so, getting that file and actually reversing it and getting even more actionable information out of it to create a YARA file for that specific document or a STIX file, whatever you want, anything, any regular expression to look for things like magic numbers contained within it, the hash, the file size, various characteristics. You could do that, but the thing is not every organization has that capability. And downloading the file can be very tricky because if one sleight of the hand and you click it, well, you're executing it. So you would need a dedicated system to actually get it there, to actually let it do its thing. You could detonate it if you have that capability as well. And when I say capability, I'm referring more of the talent internally as opposed to the ability to double click and let something run.
Or the budget.
Budget, talent, pretty much in line. Budgets by talent. So, but this is just one example. So let's talk a little bit about this doohickey here. Anybody ever heard of digital shadows? So let's just skip the marketing data here. And, do you want to tell us in essence what they do?
Digital Shadows is a service that will more or less conduct research on the deep web in regards to anything that would affect your company. So they're monitoring for data dumps or things like that, exploits, anything that could be going on that could pose a threat to your environment that's being sold or discussed on hacker forums and marketplaces, things like that. For me, you could even leverage it a step beyond that and start looking at obviously threat intelligence, but you could also start deploying counterintelligence to services like that as well. Let's say they do find data on there. What data are they finding on there? And then, all right, so who would have had access to this data and things like that? And then you can start rolling into maybe looking more towards attribution. I mean, we all know attribution's hard. I think in this industry they kind of look for, trying somebody in criminal court and things like that. But I think sometimes with attribution you might have to take the O.J. Simpson route and just go in a civil suit with preponderance of evidence.
And that's assuming they're stateside.
This is true as well. Other things like that. Like I said, look at who had access to this data or how was it sold. You can then start engaging people selling it. Are you just a broker for this information, or how did you obtain it? Start getting that information out of these people and start getting a better picture as to what occurred within this incident. Because if you start seeing the data up there, it also depends on what the data is. If it's just like, oh, here's your public IP range.
Oh boy, who is?
Yeah.
To go along with that, how did they get the data, right? You posed that. Was it an insider threat? That's one of those things that I remember when the Ashley Madison data breach happened. It was like, oh, it was Impact Team. Oh, they did a cross-site scripting and rolled their database. But a lot of people were saying this could be insider threat because they had the full database. So
that's something that I don't see many threat intelligence services really doing. I think the industry overall is really looking outward-facing what's going on in their network, but at the same time, security people will always tell you that the greatest threat to your network is an inside threat. And start looking at threat intelligence methods of collection, analysis, and countermeasures for what's going on inside your network as well. DLP is a great solution for incident response, and as well as threat intelligence collection as well too. If it's deployed properly and managed properly. I know that's another issue within itself, but I can promise you once you get a DLP solution tuned up right nice, it's a pretty powerful tool to start looking at insider threats. And I don't always mean a malicious actor inside your building. It could just be the marketing intern was super excited about this new product that's about to launch this week and is sending it to her Gmail because your company blocks Facebook and she wanted to share it on Facebook or something to that effect. I would consider divulgence of any type of company information in an incident. So DLP can come into effect with that as well, but also social media, things like that. If I am looking for an insider threat, again, this could be maybe malicious or non-malicious. I want to know who my employees are. You're in a big enterprise organization, you're not going to know everybody, but let's start looking at what they do. What kind of information do they have access to and availability to that they may or may not realize could be sensitive and impact their organization where it leaks? And you want to start doing things like that to prevent that. Have management, from top down, engage their employees, get to know them, find out what's going on in their personal lives. It was not me, but it was with somebody else. They were, they had been, I don't want to say that one. So
I'll provide a few examples. So things you might want to look at: do they have a lot of money out of the blue? Like, did they go from driving like a beat up car to like a Jaguar?
Right. So that's a better way. say yes.
Right. Do they come into some money, or are they all of a sudden broke? Are they stressed out? Are they having marital issues? I mean, don't get too intrusive, too nosy, and don't play employees against each other, but understanding if they're having problems, that could be indicative of something else. And there's a lot more indicators going with insider threat, completely independent of this.
And maybe, there's a team that has access to trade secret data that's highly sensitive, and if it were stolen, your organization will lose millions upon dollars of R&D dollars, things like that. I would want to make sure that those people working on that project are as happy and content where they are, because a lot of times when you do have a malicious insider, it's because they're a disgruntled employee, or as others see that they have someone leveraging something over their head in regard to their personal life, be it them directly, or maybe they have family in a different region of the world that they're being leveraged against to get this particular piece of information that your organization has. So I just kind of want to know, hey, what's going on? Talk to them. And then, like he said earlier, don't be punitive with stuff. If they do have issues like that, your organization should be doing whatever they can possible of trying to help them out of that situation. I know a lot of companies have EAP hotlines and things like that, but it's like, oh, if you're broke, all right, well, what's up? Why are you broke? Are you, trying to go back to school? Are you going through a divorce?
You gambling?
Yeah, are you gambling?
You been going to Tunica?
Yeah, right. Or is it, you have a family member overseas who's being held hostage and threatened against. And if that is, you need to know that, and there's not a whole lot you as an organization can do if that happens, but you at least know that there's somebody coming for that data, and you need to start looking at how you're going to protect that and what you can do to get out of the situation. I mean, at that point, I wouldn't put it on the organization. You should probably call the FBI or State Department. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so I would also look at social media. And most people, try not to